Simmons. Think about a kid who refused to accept this is all there is. He grew up with almost nothing, watched his mom hustle every day, and decided early on that enough wasn't an option. Fast forward, he didn't just become famous, he built an empire. Not overnight, and not by accident. He turned pain into performance, heartbreak into hustle, and a love for loud music into a global phenomenon. But here's the kicker. Even with fortunes and fame, the thing that haunted him most was never money. It was making sure the people who raised him never went without. You can picture it. A small apartment, a mother working double shifts, a kid scribbling dreams on napkins. That kid grew up to put on makeup and boots and become one of rock's most unforgettable figures. He wasn't just a singer, he was an idea machine, albums, tours, wild stage shows, and a flood of merchandise that put his name on everything from comic books to machines you'd find in arcades. He turned charisma into currency, and currency into a legacy. But it wasn't glitz that drove him. It was memory. He would talk about his mother, how she scrubbed, how she sacrificed. Those memories were fuel. They made him ruthless in business and relentless on stage. He promised himself one thing. She would never, ever go hungry again. That promise changed the way he played the game. Business moves weren't just about ego. They were about obligation, a debt he paid forward with success. Flora, let's slow down and talk about the woman behind the vow. She was more than a mother. She was the quiet engine. You don't get an empire without somebody keeping the lights on in the early days. She worked, saved, worried, and still managed to believe in a son who wanted to do something outrageous with his life. When he hit the big time, he didn't forget those long nights. He celebrated them. He honored her by making sure comfort replaced fear in their lives. That's why her passing cut so deep. It wasn't just losing a loved one. It was like losing the last tangible link to the hunger that made him who he became. Now, imagine handing down a fortune. Money can solve a lot of problems, but it can also stir old wounds. For the family, what he left behind is a complicated gift. Relief mixed with grief. Pride tangled with pain. They're inheriting more than bank accounts and assets. They're inheriting a legend, memories, expectations, and the spotlight that never quite goes away. That's heavy. It makes people cry, but not always for the reason you'd guess. Sometimes it's joy. Sometimes it's the overwhelming reminder of what was lost along the way. Here's something most people miss. Success stories aren't linear. He had hits and misses, legal headaches and personal compromises. The public saw the larger-than-life persona, but backstage was a guy shaped by scarcity. That background influenced every contract he signed, every brand move he made, every safeguard he built for his family. He wanted security that outlasted him, a financial cushion, and a cultural footprint so big it couldn't be erased. So, what's the real legacy? It's twofold. One, the cultural stamp, a band with a sound and a look that people still talk about decades later. Two, the personal promise, the idea that a child can change the fate of a parent and a family. Money matters, but what really matters is the story behind that money. The hunger, the promise, the love that turned a tough childhood into a drive to succeed. To wrap this up, remember this. Fortune without purpose is noise. He turned trauma into art, survival into showmanship, and a mother's sacrifice into motivation. The cash left behind is big, sure, but the real inheritance is the story and the promise that carried him from those cramped beginnings to stadiums and success. If you felt that, hit like, smash subscribe, and stick around. We've got more stories that dig beneath the glitter and into what really made these people who they became.